Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome to a very compelling discussion we're having with Dr. Jonathan Holloway, who is the president of Rutgers University, the 21st president of Rutgers, its first African-American president. He's a historian and understands higher ed and American history better than most. Doctor, good to have you with us.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Doctor, I want to quote you in a piece that you wrote for the New York Times. It was an article tied to with a whole series of other articles about the challenges America faces. Quoting you, "There are many problems in America, but fundamental to so many of them is our unwillingness to learn from one another, to see and respect one another, to become familiar with people from different racial and ethnic backgrounds who hold different political views. Why is it so hard for us, A, and B, what happens if we don't get better at this?"
Well, I'll start with B, actually. If we don't get better at this, I'm worried about the state of this country. Now, that may sound hyperbolic, but I've seen so many things happen in the last 4 or 5 years, and really the last 2 years in particular, that I never would have imagined happening before. And I've always believed in service, but the idea of a calling for national service is really a direct response to the level of you can call it despair, certainly concern that I have about this country. You know, we're living in a democracy, but it's not guaranteed. So that's a concern. How we get to this place, we are hardwired as individuals, it seems to me, to want to be like our own, around our own, and share with our own, whatever our own happens to mean. And I just think we're at a moment of heightened anxiety for all kinds of reasons, whether it's racial, social, economic, where the idea of sharing feels like a threat. And I think that is to our great detriment as a society. So, this is why I think we are where we are.
Doctor, what do you see on campus? Again, we're taping this in late January. It'll be seen a little bit later. So on campus, to what degree do you see students, Black, white, Hispanic, a whole range of ethnic and racial backgrounds, all kinds of diversity, one of the most diverse universities in the nation? What kind of interaction do you see in terms of people being open to each other and other points of view, other perspectives?
There's a lot of heat about how cancel culture is going rampant, especially on college campuses, and making it hard to share. And that is true in many ways. When it comes to day-to-day in-person interaction, I think people we see our best selves often. I think that the problem comes in is when we hang on to our social mediated devices, our smartphones, or however we want to interact in the world through social media, which has its place, but that place has been overcome and overwhelmed, but we don't know how to process it. When I see our students in person, I'm seeing curious, interesting people ready to engage. When they get behind the screens is when I think we have real problems.
Dr. Holloway, you've talked about the importance of a national public service program for young people. A, what is it? And B, what does it have to do with, and people will see democracy at a crossroads, because it seems to me it isn't just about doing service, it's about serving our country. Please.
Well, you're exactly right. It is about serving our country, but there's a larger goal in calling for national service. One, it is a way to get an individual outside of him or herself. Instead of thinking about me, or people just like me, it's a way of saying, wait a second, I can actually make a contribution by helping somebody else. It's a good feeling, but also it means that if I were to do it, make it simple, I would have to learn about somebody else. I'd have to engage with somebody else. And I think the more that we actually cross that boundary, whatever it may be, it could be gender or class or race, whatever it is, the more we will recognize that we actually share more in common with each other than we are trained to believe. As parents, we want a world that's better for our children. As individuals, we want a safe place in which we can live, where we can find food, where we can feel comfort. Everybody wants these things. And once we recognize that if you and I were in politically different positions, let's just say, and we were in some service project that required us to work together, we would recognize that we actually share some things in common. But when it comes time to disagree, which is inevitable and it's okay, in fact, it's healthy, because we know we share something in common, the nature of our disagreement will be different. And really, it is as simple as that. By recognizing commonalities, we will be able to better prop one another up during times of distress and be able to get through those moments of difficulty when we disagree.
Doctor, you came to Rutgers at a critical time. COVID raging, changing higher ed forever. You have any regrets?
Depends on the day. No, in truth, I have no regrets. I will say that when I was announced in January 2020, COVID was a thing that we thought was not in the United States yet. It was, we just didn't realize it yet. 6 weeks later, everything shut down in the country. And I will confess, for a couple of days, I felt very sorry for myself, as if this were about me somehow. Then
Join the club.
I'm sorry?
Join the club.
Yeah. Then I grew up a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, look, this is not about you, Jonathan. How can you be of service to help Rutgers in my new home work itself out? So I arrived a few months later and got down to work. So it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It is hard. But on most days, I recognize there is something really good to be done. And it's become easier as Rutgers came back to in-person existence. Then It became much easier to understand why I pursued this job and why I was so grateful to have it, is because I can make a difference in a constructive way.
You know, again, for people who know our programming, we do not try to time what is going on or talk about this week. You can check out NJ Spotlight News on NJPBS, WNET, and also Metro Focus, that great daily program out of WNET, WLIW, with our colleagues in public television. We try to take a longer view of it. So yes, we are doing this, I believe, on the 18th. You'll see the graphic, the 18th of January. But I want to ask you this. As a Rutgers alum at both the Eagleton Institute and then the doctoral program at the School of Communication, it strikes me that, let me try it this way. You're the first Black president of Rutgers. What significance does that have, particularly at this time, not just for the higher ed community, but for all of us who are tied to the Rutgers family?
Well, it's a question I've been asked before, of course. And, I don't get out of bed thinking Black thoughts, thinking Black service, thinking so on and so forth. I'm simply me trying to do my best in the world. However, I'd be naive to ignore the fact that I am the first African-American to hold this position. And so there's an opportunity here. And for me, it's an opportunity to talk about this country. Rutgers is older than the United States. And for whatever reasons, for many reasons, it took 254 years before Rutgers felt they found the right person who happened to not be white to take the reins of the institution. I think I'm good at my job. I don't think I'm that good at that job. I'm sure there've been other people with great talent who could have been named, but we're at this moment in time. And so what are we to do? We're supposed to take this thing seriously and take it as an opportunity to bring, I think, mature conversations about race in the United States, certainly an area of my personal and professional expertise. But for me, it's what does it mean to be an American? Again, Rutgers is older than this country. If we take Rutgers seriously, think about it seriously, we can look at through lines in terms of how we understand ourselves as a country, and we can make things better. So I think Rutgers embodies the promise of the American ideal. We just have to do the work of it.
Dr. Jonathan Holloway, president of Rutgers University. Dr. Holloway, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. All the best to you and the family at Rutgers.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Take care.
You got it. We'll be right back.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, New Jersey Sharing Network, the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, Wells Fargo, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, PSC&G, Choose New Jersey, and by NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan. Promotional support provided by NJ.com and by AM 970 The Answer.
Hi, I'm Joe Roth. In New Jersey, there are nearly 4,000 residents in need of a life-saving organ transplant, and one person dies every 3 days waiting for this gift of life. One organ and tissue donor can save 8 lives and enhance the lives of over 75 people. You have the power to make a difference and give hope. For information or to become an organ and tissue donor, visit www.njsharingnetwork.org and be sure to talk with your family and friends about this life-saving decision.